we hear me, at least as of now? If someone can just say yes, that would be great. So we can continue. Okay, great. So we got a yes, and we're going to start. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Good evening, and welcome to our webinar on cleaning and disinfecting with wipes, sponsored by Kimberly Clark Professional. So wipes is something that we talk about, but we may not know so much about. It's not been talked about on such a broad platform, at least in the region currently, or at least in clean Middle East. A lot has been spoken about the concept of high touch points in the past few months, given the pandemic. More so than before, we actually find ourselves being hyper aware about areas that have more frequently touched than others. But we probably didn't give it much consideration earlier when it came to cleaning those areas. So you're talking about handles and lift buttons and the flush button, all of that. And this has changed dramatically in the past few months. If anything, from all our discussions, we've understood that the COVID-19 pandemic has allowed us to understand the vast, the gamut of requirements in cleaning and disinfection. May it be the surfaces, whether it's the chemicals or even the tools that we are using to do the cleaning. Today, we are talking about wipers. Wipers are pre-impregnated disinfecting paper towels that are easy to use and have been proven to be an effective option for high touch points. And to talk about them today, we have a panel of experts in front of you. And without any further ado, I'm going to introduce them. So we have Mr. Ahmed Abublan. He is the General Manager at Kimberly Clark Professional. He has over 18 years of experience across multiple regions and leads the B2B business unit for Kimberly Clark in the Middle East and North Africa. In fact, I was talking to Mr. Ahmed, a little earlier, and he was talking about his experience within the consultancy industry. So that's what he's been doing before joining Kimberly Clark. And it has enriched his journey to grow not only the business, but the teams and the people around him. Mr. Ahmed's exceptional leadership and coaching skills makes him very close to his teams and customers. I think if you see his LinkedIn profile, you will see a lot of that. And he's an optimist with a passion for creating exceptional workplaces. We also have with us Denise Hansen. She is the head of technical services at the British Institute of Cleaning Sciences. With over 30 years of experience in the cleaning industry, Denise brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to BICSC. She is experienced in successful multi-site mobilizations in time and cost-critical environments and has a career that spans facility services for local government, major food retail, shopping centers, clean room, etc. And finally with us, we have Dr. Prashant Nasa. He is the head of Department Critical Care Medicine, chairperson for Prevention and Infection Control, Antimicrobial Stewardship at NMC Specialty Hospital, Dubai. Dr. Nasa has more than 10 years of experience in intensive care at various hospitals in India and Dubai. And he is actively involved in research and education with more than 25 publications and articles in international journals to his credit. He's also written more than 14 chapters in standard textbooks and is a regular faculty and speaker for various conferences in critical care and infection control. So welcome to our webinar, Mr. Ahmed, Denise, and Dr. Nasa, and thank you so much for agreeing to be part of our panel today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Santi.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. And we'll start with our first point. We're just going to get right to the heart of the topic. So let's talk about the kind of regular tools that are used when it comes to surface cleaning in the commercial industry, commercial cleaning industry. If one of y'all could start, any of y'all could start.
Well, if I say normally you've got there, generally we're looking at things like microfiber cloths, stockinette, muslins, disposable cloths, and also semi-disposable. So some can be laundered up to 5 times before they're disposed of. So there's really a full range of options to choose for what you're cleaning. It's looking at your particular site requirements that's important.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah. I think your voice faded out a little.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. What did you say at the end? If you could repeat it, if you don't mind.
Right. It's looking at the particular site requirements. So look at whether you've got laundry facilities on site, whether it's a 2-hour clean or a 10-hour clean, all those things will depend what sort of solution you look at for cleaning.
Mr. Ahmed, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, well, most common wipers in the market are mostly cloth wipers, disposable wipers, microfiber wipers, specialty wipers, or rags or towels, laundered towels. That's mainly what is being used. And as Denise said, it depends on the task, of course, that it is being used for.
Okay. So what kind of tools are used in the healthcare industry as well? If you could just highlight them for us, Dr. Nasa.
Okay, in the healthcare industry, there were times when most of these conventional way of cleaning was being used, cloth towels and rags. But now most of the places have changed it to a microfiber, being a very sensitive industry which we are working with. So we have to work up in an environment where it has to be lint free. So all the most of the hospitals in across the Middle East, at least I can say about, have shifted to a microfiber clothes which are lint free, so that it doesn't leave the surfaces with any of the rags or any of the tear bags of the cloth itself. They are pre-impregnated, as you rightly mentioned, disinfectant wipes, which are pre-impregnated with the solutions which are effective against most of the bacteria and viruses. And these are the tools which have been more of a standard now across healthcare industries. I think it's a global phenomena now. It's not just limited to any particular region.
Okay. So let's talk a little in detail about wipes. What are wipes? What are the different kinds of wipes that exist, and what are their applications? Denise, if you would like to start with this question.
I'd looked really at the difference between a single-use wipe, which you'd use just for one area and then dispose of, a disposable wipe, which you could use in a treated solution and then wipe and then again dispose of at the end of the day, but also the ones that are semi-disposable in the fact that they can actually be laundered for a certain amount of time. So there's lots of different wipes and also lots of different fabrics that make them look for where they're cleaning, so that they don't leave the linting, they don't leave the solution behind.
Denise, is it me? Can everyone else hear Denise clearly? I'm sorry, Denise.
I think Denise, you have to come a little close to the
yeah,
system.
if you don't mind.
Is that better, guys? Sorry, I'll speak
Yes.
more loudly.
That's better.
So we were saying it could be disposable, semi-disposable, semi-launderable, but also what solutions you're using with them. So certain solutions with certain wipes, you need to make sure that they're compatible and they're not going to actually degrade the cloth or degrade the product that you're using with them. They're the things that you should look for.
Okay. And do all wipes come pre-impregnated with chemicals, or can you do that outside? How does that work?
You get different systems. Some of them come pre-impregnated. Some of them come in drums where you can add the solution you choose. Others actually come dry, and then you can use them with a solution within a container. So there are various types, and I'm sure Mr. Ahmed will be able to cover what they actually cover from there.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, thank you, Denise. Can you all hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
And yes.
So the categories of wipers that KCP focuses on are the extended use wipers, the limited use wipers, and microfiber wipers. And that's related to what Denise was saying about, semi-disposable, disposable, or laundered. Now, the extended use wipers are durable cloths for extended use with detergent or disinfectant. The Wipolex, for example, range that has specially designed for light and medium duty wiping tasks in food processing environments, leading the way in hygiene. Our goal is to support you in reducing the risk of cross-contamination. So those wipers, because it's color-coded and it can be used for multiple times, but at the end, you will throw this wiper. So it is disposable at the end of the day. Now, these, as I said, it is available in 4 different colors to help with segregated cleaning and avoid cross-contamination. Now, limited use wipers are dry wiping paper to be used once with detergent or disinfectant, and then it can be thrown away. A wipe and microfiber cloth can absorb up to 8 times their weight in liquid and are the perfect reusable product for cleaning. As Denise said as well, it can be those are type of wipers that can be laundered and used for many times. It's up to 300 times can be washed and used again. Um, so that's all from my side.
So, okay, so when we're talking about wipers, we're talking about not when you, pardon the question, a little silly question, but it's not just the sanitizing wipes that we use on a consumer level, at a consumer level, right? So you're talking about those kind of, the cellular kind of paper, paper towels along with microfiber, right?
Yeah, so it's all what I've talked about were the dry wipers. So it's all dry wipers, not pre-saturated. You can use your
Okay.
own disinfectant or detergent, or it depends on the task that you are doing. Then you use the appropriate dry wiper with it. So if you're in an environment where you need a disposable wiper that it can be used only once of a hygiene perspective and thrown away, you can use the limited type of wipers, which is paper base. It's like the
Yeah.
tissue
Yeah.
paper. The other side is the extended use wipers, which is a special technology that we've got called hadronite technology, that it feels like a cloth. It's a cloth type, but again, you can use it and throw it away. So it is not laundered as well. So it's either use it once and throw it, that's the limited use, or you use it multiple times, but at the end of the day, you have to throw it also from a hygiene perspective, and it's all color coded. The microfiber on the other side, it's also, we all know the microfiber, it looks like a cloth as well. It is
Yeah.
color coded as well. And those cloth, microfiber cloth, those are the ones that you can wash it and use
Launder.
it again.
Okay. Okay. So, what kind of wipers are specific to healthcare? I mean, when you're talking about applications, you're talking about healthcare, you're talking about hospitality, you're talking about food, you're talking about in food, you're talking about processing as well as the Horeca division. So, are you talking about color-coded wipers according to these sectors, Mr. Ahmad?
Yes, Shanti. So again, as I said, it depends on the segment or the industry, and Dr. Prashant can add to this as well. But it depends on the area of use. So if you're in a clean room where you don't want any contamination, there's a specific wiper for that that doesn't leave any lint, or it has to be thrown away. So it depends on the segment.
Application.
For
Mm.
example, yeah, the application. So they use the color-coded wipers, for example, to wipe the patient rooms. So they have
Mm.
specific color for that. They can't use any other color that is used, for example, for the washroom or for the lobby. It depends. So they have to, and that's agreed within the team in the hospital on where they use the specific color.
Dr. Prashant, would you like to add to that, especially with regard to the clean rooms and the infected, contaminated rooms?
Okay, I think Ahmed, laid up a very nice foundation for me to dwell upon. What exactly he wants to say is it depends upon that the purpose which we are going to use the wipe. Whether it's a plain cleaning, where we actually mean it's only removal of organic debris. We
Mm.
actually wash off the surface. There is no disinfection happening in a cleaning process. So it's either a cleaning, it's a sanitization, or finally a disinfection. So for in a hospital setting, you need to have both cleaning and disinfection.
Yeah.
When we say disinfection, you are actually killing up the bacteria and viruses, which are harmful microbes for the next patient or for the healthcare worker. So besides that, you need to have a surface cleaned. So these wipes are designed first depending upon the site of the work, whether it's a cleaning you need to do, whether you need to do a sanitization, and finally if you need to do a disinfection. Further, they are color coded depending upon the solution which they contain. There are certain solutions which work for all bacteria and viruses, while there are other solutions which are just average type of disinfectants which work for a limited reduction of the growth of the bacteria, may not be effective for spores and virus and other high harmful viruses. So when we talk about if we talk about COVID per se, it's the concentration of the alcohol at 70% and above which will be effective.
Mm.
While most of the wipes doesn't contain that 70% wipes. Okay, so they are color coded depending upon the solution which they contain. They are color coded depending upon the purpose they have been developed upon. If it's a like we do it on a red wipe, if it's red mostly in our hospital, we mean it has to be used in an infected environment where you are having a potential high contaminated surface or a surface which is high likely to be infected with harmful bacteria and viruses. So that has to be taken over by this particular wipe. Most of the cleaning part is done by a housekeeping staff, so they need a basic level of understanding along with the infection control team, so that we know which type of wipe they are using just looking at the color code. That's why
Mm.
color coding helps with the with the better understanding of all uniformity in that particular area. It also ensures that the right wipe is being used at the right surface.
Okay. Okay. So basically, this entire COVID situation would have definitely improved sales on wipers in the past few months, I think,
It has
right?
actually, I will not say that it has improved a per se in healthcare, but yes, it has created a awareness among the general public that there are some things which we need to take, and it's a basic level of hygiene which everyone has to maintain. Which I think over a period of time we were a little careless about it, but it has created a buzz or a awareness among the general public to take these issues seriously on a routine basis, and that what we are realizing. People are much more sensitive about these things, which relatively few months back were not there.
Correct. Absolutely. So Denise, let's talk about how one can use a wipe correctly to clean.
Right. Well, often people will screw the wipe up into a ball, which is the wrong way. So
Mm.
what I've done with my home kit of labels is actually labelled the surfaces on the wipe, which hopefully you
Oh,
can see
wow.
there. So
Yes. Can everyone see
actually,
that? I hope so. Hope so.
so if you fold it and fold the wipe, you can actually have 4 working surfaces. So you have 1, 2, 3, then 4. And then by reversing the wipe and actually folding it again so that the contamination is controlled in the wipe, you can then give yourself the further 5, 6, 7, and 8 surfaces. So by actually folding the wipe that way, that surface, once it's contaminated, you reverse it, use a fresh surface for the next area. You can actually make the most of the wipe and make sure that you've used all the surfaces and make sure you don't then cross-contaminate from area to area by folding the wipe properly and using it correctly. So it does make a difference if people fold, and yet often you'll see people just get the wipe out of the bucket or the cloth and then just use it like a rag, and it doesn't work as effectively that way, and you don't get the most from it.
Correct. That makes a lot of sense, actually. So does this apply to all wipes? I mean, we spoke about the single-use ones, we spoke about the microfiber wipes and the pre-impregnated ones.
Yeah, it use it on any type of wipe, whether it's disposable or microfiber. It still gives you those 8 surfaces. And the other thing that we've suggested in our return to work or the new normal is actually if people going into building were to take a wipe, they could actually use 8 surfaces to touch things like the doorknobs, the handrails, the lift buttons, and they're giving a barrier between themselves and any possible contamination. So it will actually break down that chain of infection as well in that way, as well as in the cleaning way.
Oh yeah, that's nice. That's really interesting. So what kind of challenges do you face at BIX when it comes to training people on the use of wipes? Are people readily, accepting of the use of these kind of wipes?
It's more, if I'm honest, about breaking bad habits. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people will say, I've been doing this for 10 years, 20 years, what can you teach me? Well, every time I teach, I learn something. So
Yeah.
I haven't stopped learning yet. We teach a very prescribed method in BIX. It's about the person that's cleaning being safe, as well as the people that are using the areas being safe. So the first thing in our risk assessment or method statement is protect the operative. Because if you can teach the operative how to clean safely and efficiently, 1, it's a more rewarding job, but 2, they're getting a much more effective clean from what they're doing with the equipment they have. Things like diluting their products properly, certainly with your disinfectants. That's so key to handling the breakout. Being sure that you've got just the right amount, not too much, not too little, the right amount. And then using the wipes correctly so you're not recontaminating areas. It's things that are really simple, but so many people don't do them properly. So the whole thing about Vic's training is going back to those basics and teaching right from how to wipe a surface, how to mop a floor, how to vacuum clean. Things that people say, well, anybody can do it. Well, please come along and find out, because most people don't do it properly. So it is so key to train people properly to work safely for everybody.
Yeah, I agree with Denise. Well, it's all about change management. So we face this a lot when we try to get some of the teams of our customers on board on how to use a new product. Because as Denise said, they've been doing it the same way for the past 10, 15, maybe 20 years. So what we do is we always start with the why. So what's in it for them if they
Yeah.
start changing their behavior? So changing the mindset always comes with what is it for me? So when we start the conversation of when you use this product, these wipers, these color-coded wipers on this for this specific task and this specific way, maybe as Denise explained as well, this is where it comes for you as a benefit. So you become more protected, you will protect the patients, for example. So it depends on how this person would be interested to use this new technique or new product, is either by having benefit for their own self, or by the benefit for their patients or end users.
What kind of response have you seen in the market, Mr. Ahmad, when it comes to the demand for wipers nowadays?
As also Dr. Prashant says, it's all about the awareness now. So the awareness is becoming higher. Now people are more sensitive when it comes to hygiene. So their their thinking have changed because the world around us is changing. So in order
Yeah.
to do that, because customers or end users are smarter these days, right? Information is everywhere. It's all about insight. So people can, with a click on their laptop or mobile, they can bring the information they want. So they become smarter, and because people are becoming smarter, they are becoming just not just smarter on the information they know, but on the applications of whatever they're doing. So to answer your question, yes, the demand on wipers is increasing because the awareness has increased with the end users.
Okay. Mr. Prem Kumar says washing and collection of all microfiber cloth is also important, as I see a lot of cross contamination. Okay.
Very much
Yeah.
so.
So how does one? So I'm assuming microfiber cloth is the one that is going to be laundered. So how does let's pick up from that question and talk about how um, it actually needs to be washed correctly. Any tips on that?
It does depend on the manufacturer of the cloth as to what temperature they should be laundered at. And a
Okay.
generalism is that it should be held at over 60 degrees for 20 minutes or at over 90 degrees for a minute, but that's very general. They also need to be careful what powders they use with them, because they shouldn't use any powders with brighteners or bleachers in, because that again can deactivate the fibres in the cloth. So a good laundry procedure is key. And if people haven't got a good laundry procedure, that cloth could then carry the contamination on. So if it's not laundered at a high enough temperature to kill the bacteria, if a suitable product isn't used, the cloth will then hold that and redistribute the contaminant.
Sorry.
So a good laundry
Sorry.
system is key.
Okay. Yeah. Any comments, Dr. Prashant? How does it work in the healthcare system when it comes
Yep.
to washing and collection of this?
The washing and the collection is I think the basic training which needs to be done, which is mostly done by depending upon the manufacturer of the cloth, and the special educators which we have in infection control team and nurse educators along with our housekeeping team. So this is being regularly reinforced, and the recommendations have to be strictly followed by the manufacturer, because every cloth will have its life, and the function depend upon how it has been cleaned. And it's a very vital aspect. And as one of the audience actually pointed it out, there is a high chances of cross contamination if it's not been regularly cleaned. And this other part of the cleaning is the dry storage. Most of these
Mm.
things get colonized with those bacteria and viruses, especially if they kept it moist for a long period of time. So after cleaning, a proper storage has to be done before they are next used in the next day or maybe in the next shift.
How do we dispose the disposable wipers?
Okay, for healthcare, these are very standardized. We have a color-coded bins. So all these wipers go into contaminated bins, which are like for other contaminated things which are coming from the patient infected instruments. So for us, any wiper or any microfiber or any cleaning cloth which we are using are a contaminated one, and it will go to a red bin, which will be highly contaminated and will be collected from a third party. Will go directly to the incineration.
Okay, yeah, for all healthcare stuff, it's incineration. What about general wipers, Mr. Ahmad, Denise? Any comments on the ones that are used in a more commercial setting?
It tends to be site specific. So some sites will run a recycling program. Other sites, they will go into general waste. But what we'd say is they need to look at what the ecological risk assessment is for their building as to how they can recycle and make the minimum impact on society with them.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the customer or the end user who's using it, and the way they would wish to dispose it. But from a KCP perspective, our wipers are biodegradable, and um, it is sustainable wipers as well. So it depends if they wanna bury it, or they wanna do some waste management with it. What we can support in, other than sustainability of our wipers, is the weight. So the technology that we use makes the wiper really light, or lighter than um, any other wiper in the market. And when it comes to the limited use wipers, because of the Airflex technology that we use, ours is 17% less pulp and fiber in production. So even if some of the users would want to, when they want to get rid of the waste, they have to pay the companies that take the
Like,
waste management. So because of our light weight of our fibers, or our wipers, it will cost them less even to dispose it. Plus, because it's sustainable and comes from sustainable sources,
hmm,
it is completely safe on the environment.
okay. We have a question from the audience. Mr. Gopinath Rajamani says, which wipe is most preferred to use in a shopping complex at the food court? With new opening, customers are now keen to see how tables are cleaned and what kind of wipes are used. So, can you describe the kind of wipe that should they use a microfiber, or should they use a single-use wipe? How should it work?
Yeah, so from a hygiene perspective, and especially in those days, the best solution would be the limited use wipers, which is the one that you wipe and then you throw away. That's the best way of doing this now, specifically in food courts. So limited use wipers is the ones that is a tissue base. That's where you use it and you throw it away.
And these are impregnated with chemicals as well,
No,
disinfecting
no,
chemicals.
they have, this is all dry wipes. The best way is to use their own in disinfectant that they
Correct.
spray and then they wipe it. That's the best way of doing it.
Okay. I also read somewhere that you shouldn't. I was speaking to somebody, and they spoke to me about how you need to spray the disinfectant directly on the wipe and not on the surface. Any
You get
comments on
it,
that, Denise?
you do get it to clean. We recommend spraying the wiper because if they spray the surface, they tend to overspray. They can overspray onto the floor and cause a slip hazard. If they spray the wipe, you're containing how much you're spraying, and you're also making sure that you can clean the area properly and safely.
Okay.
I will like to add one point here.
Yes.
Most of these disinfectant solutions work on a contact time. So
Yes.
this concept of putting it directly on the surface versus putting on the wipe will be valid over here also. If you are putting it on a surface, how long you are allowing that surface to be in contact with that solution. If you're directly immediately wiping it off, and it's not going to work. That disinfectant need to have certain amount of contact time with that surface. Then only it will be working.
Correct.
Similarly, for any wipes, how long that wipe has been in contact with that surface, and how long we allowed it to be moist, or has not allowed it to be dry. So that's what all these concept of disinfection comes. So that's what has to be retrained and trained to most of the housekeeping, how many times you need to clean up the surface and keep it moist, so that disinfection solution actually works. I think that will be valid in this particular case also, whether you are putting on a surface versus putting on a wipe.
Okay. I'm just going with the next question that we have. For kitchen surface cleaning, do moist wipes need to be alcohol based, that is above 60% alcohol, which should be similar to hand sanitizers? Any of you can take this question. Denise, maybe you can start.
For me, for kitchen surface cleaning, you need to make sure that it's a food safe product. So you need to look at your products, make sure that it's food safe and it's not going to actually taint if people are making sandwiches or putting foods then on those surfaces. That's the most important thing, rather than the alcohol content. Look at the food safety, and also look at the settings. So is it a suitable sanitizer, disinfect that area?
Denise?
Yes?
Sorry, I think we lost you there for a minute.
Right. Sorry.
You were saying?
It was a food safety, and most importantly, the fire hazard.
Yes.
In kitchen, especially, alcohol will be a fire hazard, so need to be very, very careful. Besides food safety.
Point. Would you like to
Yes,
add something,
and
Mr.?
yes, and all the wipers of KCP are food contact certified. So we've got the certification that says it's safe to be used around food or kitchens in general. And as Dr. Prashant and Denise said, no, it depends on the atmosphere where that's not for us to decide if it's 60% or more. Honestly, it's more of the safety personnel at that site who would decide that. But from KCP perspective, what I can comment is our product is food contact certified, and it's compatible with different detergent, disinfectant, sanitizers.
When you use wipers, you would need to wear gloves, especially in a pandemic like right now, right? So would that in any way affect it when you turn the side? Sorry, just a random question that occurred to me, Denise. Um, so whenever you use the different sides, wouldn't your glove already have some kind of contamination?
Hopefully, if you can turn the sides, if you know it's going to be contaminated, if I'm protecting that side, as long as I can take it from the edges and turn it, I can avoid actually putting your hand on the
On the
contaminated
surface.
side. So it depends what you're cleaning, how contaminated you know it to be, whether you'll get the full 8 surfaces to work with. Because you're right, you don't want the contamination going onto your gloves.
Yeah, so cleaners also need to be really smart when it comes to maneuvering the wiper as and when they require.
They do. They need to be sure that they're keeping themselves safe, and also when they're taking their gloves off, how they're taking them off does impact, so that they're not actually touching with their bare skin. They can actually fold the gloves off without coming into contact with the outer contact of the glove.
Correct. Um, we are reading and listening, hearing about a lot of alternate technologies that are now in play when it comes to disinfecting. So we're talking about like misting machines, fogging machines, steam cleaning, all of that. So where do wipers really stand, when it comes to all these other supposedly potentially more effective?
They actually play a huge part, because, to be fair, you must clean before you then disinfect.
Yes.
So if they're using the foggers, the electrostatic, the misters, they should clean first, because disinfectants are deactivated by soil or by contaminants. So unless you remove those contaminants first, it won't be wholly effective. And we see a lot of things on the news here. I'm one of those people that's shouting at the telly. They should clean before they fog. They should clean before they electrostatically spray. Steam cleaning needs to be to a certain temperature to be effective. you need to make sure that you've got an effective manner of actually removing and killing these germs. And so many people are just, frankly, they're doing it wrong. So it needs to be cleaned first before it's disinfected. It's a two-stage process.
Absolutely.
I fully
Absolutely.
agree with Dennis. But it's something which need to be reinforced, and we need to be very vocal about it. The people just understand these so-called foggers and machines are sufficient enough to take care of the surface. No, they don't have surface penetration. So surface has to be cleaned first, thoroughly cleaned first, remove of all organic debris, then only all these machines will have some impact.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess now more than ever, Shanti, is the awareness of the difference between cleaning and disinfecting, because I believe that before people used to think they both are the same, but
Yeah.
but if we look at it, so we must first understand that there's a difference between cleaning and disinfecting. Cleaning is the physical removal of germs, dirt, etc. But the disinfecting is on the other hand is actually killing those germs on surfaces or objects with the use of chemicals.
Yeah, I think out of this entire pandemic situation, apart from the extreme awareness that people have had, including industry awareness of how important now cleaning and disinfection is, this is one aspect that people are really aware about now. People are talking about across all the webinars that we've conducted. So I'm talking about cleaning before disinfection, and another one is a very interesting point that Dr. Nasa also highlighted, which is about the dwell time that chemicals have to have on a surface. There is no point if you wipe off a chemical that you've used to disinfect if you don't give it enough time to have any action. You're just being counterproductive. And I think this is very important. These are very important things that I think we've all learned from this pandemic. Even a lot of our audience is learning about this now. Any comments on the dwell time apart from whatever Dr. Nasa said? Is there something more that we need to know about this?
I think if people use the manufacturer's instructions, both for the dilution rate and the contact time, so some products you can dilute to different concentrations, and that affects the time that you need to let it dwell. So people need to use those two pieces of information to make sure that they're using the right dilution for the right amount of time.
Correct. Okay. We have a question from Tony Jason who says quat-based wipers or alcohol-based wipers are which is more suitable for surface cleaning. So quat-based is quaternary ammonium.
Yeah. Okay, so these are both low-level disinfectants, alcohol and quaternary ammonium compounds. Which one is more effective? It depends upon the situation which you are dealing with. Their alcohol-based wipes are definitely preferred one, but the issue with alcohol-based wipes are they cannot be worked on, especially these electronic monitors and certain instruments which we use in healthcare. Their alcohol-based can have an issue in terms of corrosive action. So their quaternary ammonium compounds are the safer alternatives in terms of alcohol. In terms of efficacy, most of the alcohol and quaternary ammonium compounds are low-level disinfectants, so they are not going to work for any of the spores or with mycobacteria. So those surfaces need to have a higher level of disinfection, which is none of them is applicable. So if we talk about general surface disinfection, it depends upon the surface which you are cleaning. If it is compatible with alcohol, go ahead with alcohol. If it is not compatible with alcohol, go ahead with quaternary ammonium compound.
Okay, and of course that applies to that also depends on the application you're using it for. So if it's if it's the food sector, the healthcare sector, all of that.
Yeah, so I would like to add here that I don't want those answers to sound always like it depends on the industry, it depends on the surface, but I just want for everyone to be aware that why Dr. Prashant is saying that, or Denise or myself, is because it all depends honestly on what you're exactly doing and the task or application you're using it for. So neither of us can generalize that the specific wipers with specific chemical can work for that specific area. It's all therefore what we do is whenever we have certain questions, we actually do what we call it a waste walk, where one of our representatives from Kimberly Clark would go actually on site and see with their own eyes what is happening and what is the type of application, and therefore we can give specific recommendation on a specific product or solution. I just don't want those questions to sound like we're only answering general questions, because we have to be very careful to give you the accurate advice.
Point noted. Yes, definitely. So, Mr. Tony, I think your answer would definitely be that it really depends on what you want to use your wipes for, more than specifically just the sector. Okay. What kind of challenges do each of y'all face when it comes to talking, in Denise's case, training people about using wipes? The same with Dr. Prashant, and with Mr. Ahmad, I think it in terms of educating the client on the use of wipes. So if y'all can just tell me quickly what challenges you all face.
For me, training people, there's sometimes a reluctance to change how they work. So microfiber is a great example. Microfiber isn't just a different cloth, it's a different way of cleaning, it's a different way of laundry, it's a completely different system. And getting people to see that it's not just a change of cloth, it's a mindset change is the most important thing. And also, if we can involve the clients, if we're doing training on a site, if the client will take some time to spend with us as we do that training, they then seem to take on board that there's more to it than just something that's not skilled that people do out of hours. It is important that we can actually include the client in the training as well as the actual staff in the training, and try and achieve that mindset change.
Okay.
Yeah, and from my side, I believe, Shanti, it's the discipline which falls into what Denise is saying. The discipline of actually doing what is the best way of using that wiper is because some of the end users who are using those wipers is, if they're using a limited use wiper that has to be used and thrown away, they might, because they've been doing it for the past 10, 20 years, they don't want to throw it away. They want to use it again and again and again. So they use the limited use wiper as an extended use wiper. On the other hand, some of the users as well, they use the extended use wiper as a limited use wiper and throw it away. And then the cost controller will actually jump on them and say, "What are you doing?" So it is a matter of discipline from my side. The challenge is all about discipline and make sure that the teams are changing their mindset.
To add to Ahmed and to Dennis, they have already said very two critical points which we are, are real-time challenges which we are facing. And to the current situation, I will add to it a supply chain. It's a major issue which we have tackled in last, few months of COVID. The supply chain disruption which happened globally made us realize, besides training, whatever training and, the discipline we were maintaining few months back was completely disrupted because of this supply chain of certain type of wipes or certain type of disinfection solutions which were easily available before were not available during these times. So we need to have a mix of these solutions, but at the same time retraining and awareness among the staff. It's not just we can keep that a certain sort of color is good enough. We need to tell them why that is good enough and why we need to do, if something is changing, what they need to do an extra and retraining. So a supply chain should add that important armamentarium which we were not even considering few months back. We were just taking it as granted that this will be available and will be available continuously.
Correct. The why is one of the most important aspects, I think, in cleaning. Unless and until you know what you're doing, and unless and until you know why you're doing something, it's very difficult to then work on it. Mr. Prem Kumar says, Mr. Ahmad, can you tell us how many number of washing life cycle of fiber cloth are allowed? Okay, so what is the life cycle of a microfiber cloth, and how many times can it be washed?
Yeah, so the number of time we say it's 300 times from a Kimberly Clark Professional product. We recommend that it is washed 300 times. And now for the number of times to be used, that's, again, it depends on the application. I can't generalize the number of times it can be used, because if it's being used on dust only, is totally different than in being used on any liquids or chemicals used. But the section of how many times it can be washed, 300 times.
So we pretty much covered a lot of our points of discussion pretty fast. I'm going to just move to the last question. What about the health and safety concerns when it comes to wipers? I mean, I was speaking to a couple of people earlier, and they were talking about how using the wipers, especially the tissue, the paper towel wipers, what kind of ecological impact do they have? So I do understand, Mr. Ahmad, that KCP has biodegradable wipes, but what about the other wipes that are more generic? How ecologically effective are they?
Well, honestly, I can't talk about the
Other
other
wipes.
wipers, KCP, because I have no claims against them. But it is very simple when the weight is 10 times more than our wipers, when the technology that being used is not from a sustainable resources. So that's definitely will affect the way it's being disposed. So currently, there are no manufactured recycled paper products other than Kimberly Clark. So it is honestly, I cannot make any specific claims on this webinar, but definitely they are not coming from sustainable resources.
Denise, what about in your experience, and Dr. Prashant, you as well? Um, do you find wipers to be ecologically supportive?
I think what people need to look at is which wipe they're using, where it comes from, whether they've got a recycling policy, whether they've got a collection policy, and also things, if they're using a wipe and they're not laundering, are they saving on the phosphates from the laundry materials? They really need to do their own ecological assessment on which way is best for their site, and each site will be slightly different.
Okay. Dr. Nasser?
Yeah, I agree with that. This is one of the important point which we do consider when we take up a decision for a new wipe, while deciding amount of the biodegradable waste and biomedical waste which we are generating to use going to develop on these wipes. Because as Ahmed also said, besides ecological impact, this also adds to the waste burden, and most of these biomedical waste are actually collected in terms of the weight. So how much they weigh at the end of the day. So these all are important factors while we decide which type of wipe which will be used in particular industry or at that particular place. Besides, obviously, their but basic use, where whether they has to be used for cleaning, disinfection, and the important aspect is how much is the efficacy. So besides all this, and final word will be how much effective at the end of the day in terms of ecological they are able to sustain ecological impact or not, or whether they will be easy to discard.
Shanti, I think you're on mute at the moment.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Anything else that you all feel that we need to tell our audience about wipers that we may not have covered from any angle? If there's something, do tell us. No, nothing.
One point I want to add, there are a lot of wipes which are available, and there is a great potential awareness which is there, which wasn't there a few months back. But at the same time, we need to be very, very sensitive what we are purchasing and for what purpose we are using. In one of the question, the issue was alcohol wipes in kitchen. So I will be very sensitive, not just to switch on to something without realizing what exactly they are meant for and what place you are actually going to use these wipes. So we people are now very much smart and aware. They can do this information Google, but at the same time look at the safety aspect of these issues also beside deciding on a particular wipe.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Prashant. You need to be very careful when you are buying a product or solution from the market, because it's all about consistency. What you need is a product that will give you consistency, so the same effect every time you're using that product. Plus, you want to be very careful that, and especially when it comes to rags, used before, like under shirts, etc. Those are already coming contaminated. So you need to be very careful as an end user, regardless if I work for Kimberly Clark or not. This is just general advice. Is you need to buy a product that comes from a trusted source that will give you the same result every time you use it.
And please train people to use them, because people assume that everybody knows how to clean. That isn't the case. It's so important that proper training on the systems goes in and it's regularly maintained. So training somebody just once isn't enough. Make sure that that knowledge is embedded, make sure it's retrained, and that updates are given to the staff as to why they should do it. If they understand the why, they're more likely to do the training.
Yeah, spot on, Denise. And also another point that's connected here is that we also presume that they know how to use it, but also a lot of people, they presume that they know what type of wipers they need. So without asking, so they might just call and say, send me microfiber. And then you start saying, why do you want to use it? What's the application? And they just send me microfiber, just send me limited use, extended use. So my advice is, please speak to your supplier and ask them to come over and ask them to take a walk like we do in Kimberly Clark Professional, and let us give you the advice on what exactly you need to use for which application.
Very well said. Absolutely. So we need to know why, and we need to speak to the manufacturer to understand what kind of product we do need. Great. On that note, I think we're going to close this discussion. I think we have a comment from Chris. So Chris says, thank you to all. A great session. It's great to have that professional input. Only yesterday, I was speaking with a teacher at a school who informed me that they were using baby wipes that were having bleach poured into the dispensing pack and told to use them. It's frightening. Get professional advice, speak with suppliers, and train staff how to use products effectively and efficiently. Thank you. Yes, that is scary.
That's what
It
is
is.
happening. You need to be careful what you are selecting and what you are using.
Correct, absolutely. That's what they talk about half knowledge, right? You know that you need to use wipers, but you don't know what to use, how to use, when to use. Okay.
Exactly.
Yes. So on that very, very hard-hitting note, we can end the session now. Thank you so much, Chris, for your comment. I think that was, very well placed and hard-hitting, like I said. And thank you so much, Mr. Ahmad, Denise, Dr. Prashant, for taking out your time and being part of our webinar today. And thanks to Kimberly Clark Professional as well for being in association with us for the webinar. If anybody in the audience has any further questions on wipers, you all can just put it on LinkedIn or email any of us. We're more than happy to talk to you all about it. Yes.
Thank you, Shanti.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Shanti.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.